There's a war being waged in the world of work, and your career is on the front line. On one side, you have the generals of industry, CEOs at companies like Amazon and JP Morgan Chase, armed with spreadsheets on commercial real estate costs and a deep-seated fear that if they can't see you, you aren't working. They're issuing mandates demanding a full-scale return to the office, a retreat to the perceived safety of the pre-pandemic world. By the end of 2025, an estimated 27% of companies are expected to be fully back in person, with leaders citing everything from collaboration to culture as their justification. On the other side, you have the resistance, a global army of professionals who have tasted freedom. The freedom from the soul-crushing commute, the freedom to wear sweatpants to a strategy meeting, the freedom to focus without the constant chatter of an open-plan office. An incredible 98% of them say they'd like to work remotely at least some of the time for the rest of their careers. This isn't just a friendly disagreement over office snacks. It's a fundamental clash of philosophies, a high-stakes tug-of-war pulling at the very fabric of our careers. So what's the end game here? Is the office truly dead, a relic of a bygone era? Or is this whole battle distracting us from the real, far more complex future of work? On this episode of Gen Shift, we're cutting through the noise to give you the strategic intelligence you need to navigate this new world. Stick around and make sure you're subscribed. 1, the tug-of-war, why everyone has a point. To understand where we're going, we first need to understand why this fight is so intense. And the uncomfortable truth is, both sides have a point. Let's start with the employer's case for the office, because it's more than just a simple desire for control. Leaders have legitimate data-backed concerns. Their biggest argument revolves around collaboration and innovation. They believe that the best ideas aren't born in scheduled Zoom calls, but in those random, serendipitous water cooler moments, the quick chat after a meeting, the shared laugh in the kitchen, the impromptu whiteboard session that solves a problem that's been plaguing a team for weeks. Companies from tech to finance argue these moments are the lifeblood of culture and creativity, and they're nearly impossible to replicate digitally. Then there's the critical issue of mentorship, especially for you Gen Z and young millennials just starting. How do you learn by osmosis when you're not in the same room as seasoned experts? How do you build a network or find a mentor when every single interaction has to be formally scheduled? It's a real challenge, and the data backs it up. A staggering 55% of employees feel they develop new skills at a slower pace in a hybrid setup. For a generation anxious about future-proofing their careers in a world where nearly 40% of current skills could be obsolete by 2030, this is a serious career-defining concern. And of course, there are the unspoken financially driven reasons. Many companies are locked into billion-dollar commercial real estate leases, and an empty, echoing office tower is a terrifying sight for a CFO. With over 1 billion square feet of office space currently available in the US, the pressure to justify those costs is immense. Even more cynically, some executives admit they've used return-to-office mandates as a form of voluntary or stealth layoff, a way to trim headcount by getting people to quit without the bad press and severance packages that come with official downsizing. But the employee case for flexibility is just as powerful, if not more so. For millions, the shift to remote work wasn't just a change of scenery, it was a life-altering upgrade. The average employee saves thousands of dollars a year on commuting, lunches, and office attire, money that goes directly back into their pockets. More importantly, they've reclaimed their time. Hours once lost to traffic are now spent with family, on hobbies, or just decompressing. This isn't just about convenience. It's about well-being and work-life balance, which Gen Z prioritizes above almost everything else. Remote work also unlocked a new level of productivity for many. Deep, focused work, free from the constant interruptions of an open-plan office. Data shows remote workers can log more focused time per day compared to their in-office counterparts. But the core of the employee argument, the real emotional center of this conflict, is trust. While leaders talk about culture and collaboration, a stunning 77% of employees believe that rigid return-to-office mandates are driven by a fundamental lack of trust from management. They see these policies not as a strategy to boost innovation, but as a return to an outdated philosophy of surveillance, where productivity is measured by presence, not performance. This disconnect reveals that the two sides aren't just arguing about location, they're operating from entirely different playbooks, one based on 20th century control and the other on 21st century autonomy. 2. Beyond black and white, the nuance of productivity and culture. So, who's right? Is the company demanding in-person collaboration, or is the employee demanding remote autonomy? The answer is, the question is flawed. The debate has been framed as a simple binary choice, office or home, and that's where we're all getting it wrong. The reality is far more nuanced, and to truly understand it, we have to dig deeper into what words like productivity and culture actually mean in 2025. Let's start by deconstructing the idea of productivity. It isn't a single simple metric. We need to differentiate between two distinct types. First, there's individual task productivity. Think of a coder writing lines of code, a writer drafting a report, or an analyst building a financial model. For this kind of deep-focused work, being remote is often a huge advantage, free from the constant shoulder taps and ambient noise of the office. But then there's collaborative innovation productivity, the messy, creative, team-based process of brainstorming a new product or solving a complex, multifaceted problem. This is where in-person interaction often has the edge. The problem is, most companies are still using outdated metrics like hours logged or emails sent to measure success. Forward-thinking organizations are realizing they need a new dashboard, one that tracks outcomes, skills acquisition, employee well-being, and a team's capacity for innovation, not just their physical location. The nuance goes even deeper when we look at the psychological dimension. A one-size-fits-all work policy is destined to fail because we aren't one-size-fits-all people. Research shows that personality plays a huge role in how we experience different work models. Individuals high in conscientiousness, those who are self-disciplined and organized, often thrive with the autonomy of remote work. But those high in extroversion who draw energy from social interaction can feel isolated and suffer an energy rut at home, which undermines their performance and well-being. A policy that energizes your introverted analyst might be draining your extroverted sales lead. This isn't a flaw in the policy, it's a flaw in the one-size-fits-all approach. This brings us to the Gen Z conundrum, perhaps the most misunderstood piece of this entire puzzle. On the surface, it seems contradictory. Data from Deloitte and McKinsey shows Gen Z values flexibility and work-life balance more than any generation before them. Yet a 2025 Gallup poll revealed a surprising twist. Gen Z is the generation least likely to prefer fully remote work. Why? Because they are simultaneously navigating two powerful competing needs. On one hand, they demand the autonomy that remote work offers. On the other hand, they are wrestling with being what some researchers have called the loneliest generation. Gallup found that 27% of remote-capable Gen Z employees felt lonely a lot of the day yesterday, a rate nearly double that of Gen X. For someone in their first few years of a career, the office isn't just a place to work. It's a place to connect, to find mentors, to learn the unwritten rules of an industry, and to build the social capital that will fuel their entire career. They crave the very connections and guidance that fully remote work can make difficult to build. So when 71% of Gen Z say they prefer a hybrid model, it's not a compromise. It is a demand for a new, better model, one that delivers both the flexibility they expect and the connection they need. This reveals that the most effective leaders of the future won't be the ones who issue top-down mandates. They will be the ones who can diagnose the unique needs of their teams, based on job function, personality, and generational priorities, and customize the work environment to match. 3. The hybrid future, a spectrum of spaces. So if the old model is broken and one size fits all is a fantasy, what does the future look like? It's not a single destination, it's a spectrum of possibilities. The war between office and remote is ending, and the era of the customized hybrid network is beginning. Let's visualize this evolution. In the past, we had the rigid office, a single central hub where everyone was expected to be 5 days a week. During the pandemic, we swung to the opposite extreme. Isolated islands, with everyone working from home, often feeling disconnected. The future, however, is the hybrid network, a flexible, intelligent ecosystem of different spaces designed for different purposes. This isn't just a theory. Companies are already building it. On one end of the spectrum, you have the structured, balanced hybrid model. Think of companies like Google or Amazon, which require employees to come in 2 or 3 specific days a week. The goal here is to guarantee that water cooler effect by ensuring teams have predictable overlapping time for in-person collaboration. On the other end, you have the flexible, unconstrained, or remote-first model championed by companies like Atlassian and Spotify. Here, remote is the default. The office isn't a requirement, it's a resource, a collaboration hub that employees can use when they need it, but they aren't mandated to. But there's a crucial third element emerging in this network, a piece of the puzzle that makes the whole system work, the third space. Coined by sociologist Ray Oldenburg, this refers to places that are neither your home, the first space, nor the corporate headquarters, the second space. Think of a local co-working facility, a quiet library, or even a work-friendly cafe. These spaces offer a change of scenery, a place for deep focus away from home life distractions, and a low-stakes social environment. And this is not a niche trend. The global co-working market is exploding, projected to be worth over $25 billion in 2025, with the number of spaces in the US surging by 25% year over year. Companies are actively integrating these spaces into their strategies, with many now offering stipends for employees to use co-working memberships, giving them a portfolio of places to work. This all leads to the ultimate conclusion. The office isn't dead, but its purpose has been fundamentally reborn. It's no longer the factory floor of the knowledge economy, a place for mandatory daily attendance. Instead, it's becoming a destination, a cultural center you visit with intention for high-value activities like team-building workshops, client presentations, project kickoffs, and mentorship sessions. The most strategic professionals of the future will be those who learn to match the task to the space, deep work at home, collaboration at the office hub, and flexible work in a third space. Conclusion. So let's be clear. The office isn't dead, but the traditional 5-day, 9-to-5 office is. Its ghost might still haunt the hallways of companies clinging to the past, but the future belongs to a spectrum of smart, flexible, and human-centric hybrid models. The great tug-of-war is ending, not with a winner, but with a realization that we were asking the wrong question all along. The question was never office or remote. It was, how do we design work to fit our lives, not the other way around? For you, Gen Z, this complexity isn't a threat. It's the ultimate opportunity. You are entering a workforce where you have more power than ever to demand a model that serves your need for both flexibility and connection. You can seek out employers who get it and build a career on your terms. What does your ideal work model look like? A 3-day office week, a remote-first setup with a co-working stipend? Drop your perfect playbook in the comments below. And for more strategic intelligence to help you master the future of work, make sure you subscribe to GenShift.